Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Catherine.
Ooh, it doesn't look good. Hold on. Oh.
Be right back.
Oh, there, now I can hear you. Helps if I unmute myself. Okay. Okay, we have somebody whose last four digits are 8381.
That's Gerald Burgess.
Okay, Gerald.
I can't at the moment log on to my computer, so I'm just on the phone for now. And I don't have any comments or public statements.
Okay, thank you. I've got a Chris L.
Yes.
Okay, did you want to make any public comments or comment about an agenda item?
No. I'm just here
Okay. And so I'm not seeing anybody else. I think we're all here. We got David. Did you want to make a public comment or a comment about an agenda item?
Agenda item number 6, and that will be it for tonight.
Okay. And Tina, did you want to make a public comment or a comment about an agenda item?
Public comment, please.
Okay. And it looks like that's it. So hold on, let me get my thing back up here. Okay, Jimmy, you're going to be my timekeeper tonight. And tonight, David is going to talk about agenda item 6, which is minutes from prior DRC meetings. You have 2 minutes.
Go ahead, David.
Thank you. This board in the past has a history of struggling with transparency. There are no DRC minutes for this year. I think it's very important that we have these minutes up as soon as possible so people in the community can go and see what is happening in our business. So if the board can figure out how to get these minutes up on the website as soon as possible, would be greatly appreciated. This has been brought up to my attention from other community members as I ride through the neighborhood and talking to them. So it's just a concern that the community has. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And Tina, you wanted to make a public comment. You have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. My comment is more so about the events that transpired, I believe last Monday at the parks thing. I just wanted to make it known that, David asked he asked Megan if he could attend or be part of the parks committee. Megan denied him access to be part of the committee, but welcomed him to participate in the park process. When he shows up for the park process, Beth calls the police and claims that he's harassing people. Last month, he participated in some deed restriction reporting and process. Everyone called that harassment. So I'm just starting to see a pattern that when David participates in any way, that you all start to target David. So I just wanted to make that known that I am seeing that pattern. It's discouraging, and quite honestly, it's uncalled for. So I wanted to make that known. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and it looks like Matt just showed up. Did you want to make a public comment or talk to an agenda item?
No, thank you.
Okay, so has anybody else popped up that I'm not seeing, maybe on another screen? Looks like that's it then. So I'm going to, at this point, then I'm going to close the public comment section of the meeting, and we're going to go to agenda item number 2, which is a management report from Sage.
I'm unmuted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello. I've got the summary here for April of 2021. We had 31 trash cans in view. We had 8 open storage violations. We had 5 trailers. 1 was a repeat due to a remodel from the storm. We had 1 recreational vehicle, 2 boats, and 7 fencing and 8 yard issues. 2 of those fencing issues have been ongoing, and we have been sending all the recent pictures to legal, as those have been escalated to legal for a while now. On the overnight parking violations, we had 4. It's a little confusing because we had the March 31st violations get posted after the date when we're supposed to do the data dump. So I'm going to go ahead and let y'all know there was 11 violations in Hunter's Glen 2. 4 of them were from April, 2 were from March. We had 2 first formals. We had 1 March fine, 2 April fines, totaling 11 violations, including the March 31st. Section 14 had 2 first time, 2 repeats, 1 in March, 1 April, 2 fines. Section 15 had 5 violations, 1 first time, 2. There were 4 separate violations in that issue. Section 16, we had 4 violations, 3 were on that March 31st tour that happened after the data and the paperwork had been turned in. 1 repeat. Section 17 had 2, 1 which was in March 31st, 1 in April. Section 18 had 1 violation, and it was March 31st. And section 21 had 1 violation. Total for including the March 31st and the April date, we had 20 overnight violations documented.
Okay. So, but overall, we have, I'm sorry.
We did have 1 duplicate in section 14, and that was because it went to the owner, and we were trying to figure out the account holder and the owner of the property. So we sent it to both.
Okay. So, but right now, what's your overall feeling in terms of where we're standing with compliance? Do we really don't have anything large issues? That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, I mean, we have some new people that have moved into the neighborhood, and as soon as we send friendlies and let them know about whether it be open storage or recreational vehicles, boats, we're getting pretty good compliance, and it clears up. The same thing with the overnight parking. We had a lot of new ones come in April, and that we had never sent to people that were new residents. So we did see the numbers go down in May already.
Okay.
The numbers went up for trash cans in view, but that's for a totally different issue.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Agenda item 3, pending
Oh,
appeal.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to make a motion, please.
Sure.
I'd like to motion that the manager's report with the photos include the violation history, which includes all of the dates a property was cited for the infraction until the time has passed where it no longer counts. I know in the rules there is some period of time. If you haven't done it in so long, you start over. I don't know what that time is, but as long as the violation is occurring, I'd like to see the history on that photo file. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, can't we just discuss the history when it comes up?
Well, if we could see the file with all the history on it, then we would know before we get to the meeting if it's a repeat, how many times it's happened in that window where it counts as consecutive. For
I
some
really
reason,
don't.
the history's not on these pictures.
I don't perceive it as you're asking for the pictures to be, is that what you're saying?
No, we don't need all the pictures. The latest picture is fine. And then on the side of that picture, it has blank lines, and they usually insert the date they saw the violation. But a lot of these violations are repeats from the month before and the month before. And oftentimes those previous violations are not recorded in the lines to the left of the photo. I'm asking that those violations be recorded, the most current picture, but all the violations recorded for that sighting. For instance, if it's a unregistered car in the street, okay, and it's seen every single month for 6 months, then next to the latest picture would be the dates every time that violation was seen in that 6-month window.
Then just give me an example where you would want to see that history.
Okay, and I just did, but we'll do it again. A violation of an unregistered vehicle. And that unregistered vehicle has been seen repeatedly every single month for every tour in a 6-month window. Then I should see 2 dates every month for 6 months that violation was occurring with that vehicle. Okay, same violation repeated for 6 consecutive months. I would expect to see 12 dates next to the photo. That way, when I'm looking at this stuff, I can say, oh, this isn't a first. What's happening is in the letters, it's saying first fine violation or first fine notice, but the photo's only showing me one date that the violation was seen, typically the date of the letter.
Wouldn't at this point you be sending a suggestion to the DRC for this before we make a motion?
No, I'd like to make a motion that we change the report. And that takes a board vote.
I don't know, does it?
I believe it does. I'm asking for the report to be changed to capture all of the violations, and that should not be left. Otherwise, I have to go back every single month to see, was it on the report last month? Was it on the report?
Yeah,
but it doesn't, Catherine, doesn't the DRC and the president, isn't that all controlled by the DRC committee?
No, committees don't have control. They only are advisory.
So let me, Jimmy or Diana, when you take a picture and I'm sure on the spot, or maybe you do, I'm sure Jimmy does say, okay, this is a repeat offender. This vehicle has been here several times in memory, right? Correct, Jimmy? Can I make that assumption?
When we take the picture, we have a timestamp and we keep the record of the history. You have to remember that, because after each 6 months, if they don't have a violation or if somebody new moves in, the whole protocol starts over. And that is why the committee and the board voted in late 2019 for the report to only show the activity that was going on in the month before. The committee can review if there is something else going on and then bring those suggestions to the board. But the reason the report was put to change it to only the activity from the prior month is because there's so many other issues in play. Sometimes you have a new tenant, sometimes you have an owner, so, you know, sometimes it's just a visitor, sometimes they haven't had anything in a year and a half. And there was no need to go back that long if the process starts over in 6 months for some people.
That wasn't the suggestion I was making. I was saying, and we could use the situation on Melba Pass would be a good one, although that record is better documented. But you know, those repeat violations for those unregistered vehicles, and that went on for consecutive months. It's important that every violation that is a repeat offense. I'm not talking about if somebody moved, if somebody had a visible trash can and those owners move away and the new owners have a visible trash can, of course it would start fresh with the new owner. But a better example is, here's a perfect example. The inoperable car on or truck on Birch Drive. It is not on the report this month. It wasn't on the report last month, but it is still an inoperable vehicle. So the next time it's on the report next month, because I'll report it, I expect to see every occurrence that it has been in that driveway inoperable and reported, so that when this board looks at it, they'll say, oh, gee, this car's been parked here for 6 months in this condition. We need to do something different. It's hard to tell that if all you're recording is one occurrence of a violation, when I can go back in the file and see repeat occurrences in a 6-month window of violations.
But wait a minute. So let's talk about what's going on here.
Okay.
So, and make sure I've got this clear. So let's use the disabled vehicle car that you're talking about. So
Okay.
you're saying that in this particular case, it wasn't cited this month?
No.
Okay.
Why? Why wasn't it cited?
Because it's not a violation, it's covered with the cover.
It's
And-
inoperable.
Can you prove that?
Yeah, it has no radiator.
Have you gone through the cover and looked for no radiator?
No, you can actually.
We're not allowed to do that. That's part of what our rules are going back.
Well, whoever
How do you not
encouraged
have
him
the
to pick up
radiator?
the open storage and put it inside the bed of his truck, the radiator went in there. And yes, I'm not asking you to get out of your car and look at the front end of his vehicle, but I did see the front end of his vehicle.
Okay, but let's.
So I will be able to report it to you as an inoperable vehicle.
Put it out there that this is the neighbor that Linda has reported on several occasions and has worked with us and has sent you the emails regarding the things that he has been charged with, and he has done, I mean, he's covered the car, and the reason he can't put some of the things in his backyard was because of the fence issues. And you all know, I've let you all know what the issues are involved. I've let the committee know what the issues are involved with the reports of this person.
Okay, so let's talk, but I was under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy and Diana, that if you had a situation where something was being recorded every single tour and it was turning into violations, you were gonna keep citing the dates until it was
Corrected.
corrected. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So.
And in
So,
this case,
Well, I got a question about the process. Okay, DRC, they create a violation, right? We send them a friendly letter. They do it again, we send them another friendly letter. On the third occurrence, they get a fine letter.
They get
Okay.
a first formally. Yeah, we got a process. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a process. So if we have if we're, like, for example, this car that Linda brought up or that mentioned, if they don't have a fine letter yet, that's the process that we've always gone with. Okay, so why are we even discussing? Because the way I see it, when these guys get into these violations, get into a certain situation or a criteria, that's when we start taking action and start looking at the case by case basis and saying, is there a medical problem or is there an issue with, you know, physical?
Right.
Okay, so-
Trying to figure out what's causing the
Right,
non-compliance.
we take it on an individual basis. So I guess my question is the process not working or is it something that we need to remedy? And will a report help that?
I think the process is not perfect, obviously, but the reporting needs to be improved. Or what I like even better, if you don't want to add the dates on that report that contains the photos. You know which report I'm talking about, right? I don't know the name of it. But that report that has the photos of the violation, and to the left of the photo is the date the violation was spotted. If you don't want to include all of the dates on that report for each violation, if it's more than one occurrence, then I would prefer actually to see all of the data that's collected against each violation. But that would have to be on a shared drive for me to see that. So I was hoping we could modify the report to make it more useful, so I could see how many times a violation has occurred. Because even in the first fine letters, they are not recording all the sightings. Only when it gets to the Tierra Blanca type violation stages do you see every recording. Or there is another one in the batch this month that lists every sighting. But how could somebody get to a first fine stage and the photo only show one sighting date? The report with the photos in file, that report. How can I see all the times that violation was spotted if it's not in the letter and it's not on the file that contains the photo evidence?
And what is your end objective?
To know how often a violation was cited when it got to the fine stage or the second violation,
wait a minute.
third violation, fourth violation.
Okay, so let's use that example. Let's use that example. We're here now. That car is here. We're discussing it. In the past, and I'm not saying it's perfect, Linda, but in the past we said, okay, how many occurrences did this gentleman or person have? Then we decide, okay, they've had ample time to correct this problem. They're not doing it. That's when, how many letters do they have? So it's kind of a fairness process because we can't cite somebody for if it's their first violation.
Oh, no, I'm not asking for that. No.
But I think it creates some discussion, and that's what we need. Now, a report, will it lend it to it, or will it just create too black and white a situation? That's
Well, what it will help me do in the performance review is not cite each of these letters as being incomplete, because they do not report every citing of a violation. The letters are incomplete because they're not telling the resident how every time that violation was spotted.
Oh, okay. So,
and then the
wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're talking about two different things.
I'm trying to put them together, Catherine. I'm trying to make the letters and the report match. Okay. So the letters don't contain all the sightings and the report doesn't contain all the sightings.
Well, see, and correct me if I'm wrong, people, in terms of what our objective is by the time you've gotten to the fine letter, you've had, how many times has it been reported, Jimmy and Diana?
Could be 3.
She's unmuted.
Am I muted?
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. It depends. You all do give us the discrepancy. If we do know the neighbor and we know there is a certain situation, sometimes we can send them up to 3 friendlies according to your rules. the goal is not to send them a fine letter, so we're always trying to work with the resident to address what the issue it's going to be. So
It's
they
on a case by case basis. That's what
on
you're
a
trying to
case by
say.
case basis. Now, if we know that this issue is not going to go away, that they've already said that they're going to continue to park there and they're not going to pay the fine, then we just go ahead. We have that ability to go ahead and move through the process and escalate it sooner. I think that what Linda mentioned is she's wanting to be able to match letters and match violations for her performance review. It's not keeping track of, as soon as it gets to be chronic and an issue, we bring it to the committee and we bring it to the board. And everybody knows how many letters because we send it to legal.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it would be very helpful to me to see how many of these situations are given 3 friendly letters before they get to their first formal, or you get one.
That's what we talk about at the board meetings.
We don't talk about that. I've never talked about that. I've never heard about that. But my point is this: the records should reflect what's going on. That's the whole purpose of having the deed enforcement records. How many times did you see it? How many times did you send a friendly? Because the way the rules are written, everyone's treated the same. There's equity in this process. And if you're going to handle it on a case by case basis and let the deed enforcement contractor determine which family situation warrants an exception, they are not the elected people of this board.
But they don't do that.
They make that decision.
We do that.
I don't believe they should be making that decision.
Well, they don't.
That's why I want the data recorded.
Well, I understand how.
We bring it to
I understand, but you're doing it from a performance standpoint. I'm saying when they do that, they bring it to us based on the process. Then we decide if we're gonna penalize them even further. Correct? I mean, I thought
or if we're just gonna.
Or we're gonna waive the fine. Yeah.
Or if we're gonna jump to the end, when.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I would like to be able to see that recorded, that this family A, their violation went from one friendly letter, first sign.
It is being recorded, but it's not being recorded in the format that you want.
Okay, where will I see it?
Well, what you're saying is you're having to gather too much information.
I'm saying I have to go back every month to see, was this address looks familiar, this violation looks familiar. Have I seen it before? And then I have to go back through the reports and find it. Oh yes, it was cited 2 months ago for parking in the street. I'll use that as an example. My point is this: all right, if you don't want to change the report, where will I see all the sightings listed? I want to see.
They're in the individual reports.
No, they're not for each month. How hard is it to put them all on one report?
Because, okay. And this is, before you were an elected official, we used to do it that way, but it became so big. The file became so big that it became cumbersome to the point where we couldn't open the file. It was that big. So that became part of the reason why we started compartmentalizing the reports so that they were easier to deal with. So unfortunately, or maybe no, I rephrase that. Fortunately, we have very few situations where we actually get to the point where we're having to do a fine. We are, the Cerro Blanco thing is, that is a very unusual situation.
And to that point, Catherine, well, you mentioned the list. We used to go through that list, address by address by address, and see which ones were waived, which ones were remedied, which ones were. That's where we had the 5-hour DRC meetings. These events have significantly been reduced. Am I correct?
Yeah.
There are 76 on this month's report, and how we just went over them, how Diana just went over it. we had 9 trash cans in view, we had 12 street cars or cars in the street. That is not a discussion of what's going on in the deed enforcement process. That is a laundry list of sightings. That's all that is. And if I can't get it on the photos, if I can't get it there, and I can't get it in the letters, where is that information stored?
So how did you know there were 76 of these?
Because all of us have access to the letters in the Dropbox.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
counted
but
76 letters.
76 letters. Yeah, and how many are, the majority of which were friendly letters, correct, Jimmy, Diana?
The majority of them were friendly letters, and a lot of them were corrected in the following tour.
That's great, but that's great. They would only have one date, right?
Situations that are at the fine level, and they're all been escalated to legal. So all the information that you need is with legal in the file.
Okay. So again, all the deed enforcement data is being stored on the Dropbox?
I send it to them and they store it where they're going to be, until the Google Drives are up, that's where it goes.
Okay.
It goes to Google.
That's interesting. All right, so obviously I'm not going to get a second to modify the report to include dates. That's not going to hamper the opening of a file.
What I want to do is I want to dove into the process. Maybe we need to revamp the process again.
I think the process is fine. I think what's lacking in the actual deed enforcement is the documentation of events. That's missing. It's severely lacking. So you can't look at a report and make any reasonable decision about somebody's situation if they're on the first fine stage. Well, how many times did you see that violation? I can make an assumption that the process says, okay, you would see it 3 times, but you just heard Diana say that they've been given discretion for each individual neighbor to determine whether or not they proceed as the process is written, or if they make exceptions. I'm not okay with them making exceptions. Either everybody's treated the same.
But they're not making exceptions. Am I the only one thinking they're not making exceptions?
Yeah,
we're making the exception.
They decide if they get one friendly, if there's a situation that you know, the neighbor has a situation, they've talked to the neighbor, they've worked something out, only if it becomes chronic. It's kind of like
That's the due process, Linda.
It's like the
due
covered
process. That's
truck.
what we put forward.
No, it's like the covered truck. They've made arrangements with the address on Birch to cover their truck with a tarp that is not approved, a car cover, in order to, that car is inoperable. That car should be on the list. Truck, it's a truck. Thank you.
Catherine and Art, let me make a correction to what Linda's statement was. She's saying that we're making decisions and we are not. Everything that we see, we discuss with the committee. They get emails if we see a concern or if we think there's an issue. Like in this case, this person has expressed that they are feeling harassed and targeted. We report that to the committee.
Okay, i.e. operative word, committee. The committee reviews them. I'm sorry, Dana, but I just want to bring this home. The committee reviews them, we bring it to the board hears it out, and on a case-by-case basis, we make a determination. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I have not heard the committee discuss this inoperable truck. Nor have I heard this committee discuss any allegations of harassment.
Okay, now that you threw me for a loop there. What do you mean allegations of harassment?
Well, as Diana said, this neighbor says he's being harassed. So
yeah,
let's hear about that.
I don't, well, see, this is the situation. I don't think it needs to be discussed because I think it's been resolved.
Really?
It has been resolved, and any reports provided to me by this resident, I have already forwarded to legal and it's been documented. We can't do anything about those reports. They come in by phone. All I can do is document them and send them in to legal.
Okay, I'll get them from legal then.
And that's the purpose of the committee, is to bring it to the board so we can with full
Agree.
transparency, make
I
that decision.
agree, 100%. I agree. I'm not
Okay.
getting the full transparency. That's the problem.
Well,
I'll
I,
get it.
I
I'll get
think, I think the issue is that you want to totally be involved in the DRC committee, even though you're not on the committee.
I actually don't want to be involved in the committee at all. What I want to be involved in is the deed enforcement activity. Yes, I don't need the committee. I don't need the committee's involvement. I don't need to be involved in the committee, but I absolutely, positively want to be involved in the process because I'm not seeing that it's working fairly for everybody. And some of what I sent forward that I need additional photos, like the stuff in section 1 that has a 48-hour window that we're not getting those photos on. There's too many things like that. So I am very, very interested in protecting the rights of my neighbors. And that means I have to be involved in this process to the point where I need to see what's going on. I need to see the letters. I need to see the appeals. I need to see all of the contacts made with residents. Yes, ma'am, I want that kind of involvement.
Okay, so let me ask you this, the voice of our residents, okay?
Yes.
In a previous neighborhood where I lived, I mistakenly received 3 letters. I called the homeowners association. They said the MUD back then where I lived was involved in this. I went to a meeting. I got it resolved. That was the end of it. Okay, so that's the way the process is supposed to work.
Well,
because I explained my situation. They admitted their error, and then all things went. It wasn't the fact that they were picking on me or that my rights were violated. I spoke up and said, okay, this is not right. You're in error. There's an error here. And let me explain why. And that's what our residents are supposed to do because they all are functional adults that can live in a neighborhood, pay a mortgage, pay their taxes. And when something is in default, like by the government's not perfect, neither is the MUD. They can come up to them and say, you're violating my rights. This was not right. We can say, oh, you're right. That's correct. Or we can say, no, we gave you 3 letters. We gave you 3 chances to remedy this problem. And we're not going to waive this. And that's the way the process is supposed to work. We can't be all things for all people and say, okay, you're right. Your rights were violated, even though you don't know it. A functional person will know their rights are violated and they'll speak up. At least I would.
Yeah.
I think everybody in this Zoom meeting would. You know?
Well,
probably in this meeting they would, I'm sure,
Yeah.
because they know what's
okay.
the
I
difference.
mean, I
between
admire
right
your
and wrong.
passion, Linda. You're trying to help but they have to speak up for themselves, and we're here to listen. That's why we have these
First, they
open
have to
forums.
know they've been violated, and I hear what you're saying, Art, and you're in tune, so of course you're going to know. But it's not fair to expect everybody to know, or for
Well,
to pay that
actually,
close attention.
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna disagree on that last statement. But anyway, I'm ready to move on. Is anybody
So you're not willing to change the report, to add more dates to the report when they apply.
What would it improve? That's what I
well,
need
see,
to know.
that's
What's
just
the-
it. It's not going to improve the process that we have in place now. I don't think it will.
I don't think it would improve on people's rights being violated, Linda.
It would
I don't.
improve on my ability to see how often a violation has
Yeah.
occurred.
But see, again, I'm going to repeat myself. It's really only about the chronic cases.
Correct.
And when we have chronic cases, that's when legal gets involved.
And okay, I'm going to sound corny, but I drive around our neighborhood. It looks great. Our area looks great. It has really, really come up. You know, everybody's taking care of their lawns. Some people do violate. Some people don't. But I mean, that's why we treat every case on a case-by-case basis. Every letter that they write, we have a due process. They get 3 letters. If they're chronic violators, then we take action.
Not everybody gets 3 letters, Art.
Who doesn't get 3 letters? I mean, that's what
When I finish the summary of performance, you will see. It becomes really clear. I'm just waiting on the rest of my information.
All right, so my question is, and one more thing, Catherine, I'll move on. So if you get this information, you'll be able to complete your performance evaluation?
I am waiting on a reply to 15 emails for information, 15, where I have not received the information. Until I have that, I cannot finish.
And who has that information you need?
Bill, apparently.
Okay. Well, then it's in the right place.
Yeah,
I
apparently.
guess
Hold on,
All right.
hold on. Let me comment on that. So I don't know if it was last month or one of the meetings last month, Linda requested, and I think got a motion passed that I would write a letter to Sage to request various information that she could not get. And Linda has sent those emails to me, the ones she's referring to. And I am in the process of reviewing those and requesting that information. I am not going to represent that I have all that information at the moment. I want to
Okay.
correct that.
Okay.
Why is Bill involved in my getting information from Sage Management?
Confidential information, I don't know.
I am a board member. I'm entitled to all that information unless it directly relates to my lawsuit, and they don't. They don't.
Well,
The
that's
violations
part-
in this neighborhood do not.
Linda, that's part of the reason the board did adopt the motion to have it go through me so that could be reviewed.
Okay,
So I'm not disagreeing with you right now. I just haven't had time to review them for that aspect or get the information from Sage to review. So I haven't gotten that far yet. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but I do need to review it.
okay.
All right.
Okay. Agenda item 3, pending appeals of fines. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy and Dana, we do not have any appeals this month.
Nope, we do not have any appeals this month.
Okay.
Wow.
Agenda item 4, modifications to property on Beech Nut Trace in Anderson Mill West 6. Attorney letter to property owners for verification of intent. So tell us where we are with that, Bill.
Okay, so we've received some preliminary indications that the owner of the house on Beech Nut may be planning a community home or some other type of arrangement with multiple people in the house. We've written the attorney for the owner. The DRC reviewed the letter before it went out, but we've written asking for information to confirm or deny the use that they're going to proceed with. If the use is in complete conformance with state law, then that would be something we would review, and perhaps it's not a problem. If it's not in conformance with state law or federal law, then it could be a potential multifamily violation. Because the owner has an attorney, we as attorneys are going through the owner. The letter actually went out the 13th, and we asked for a response within 10 days. I guess we're getting some type of indication from some of the neighbors close there. They think the activity is headed that way, but I don't know if we have hard proof yet.
Okay. Okay, well, what I've been told is that the house has been listed on some sort of website as soliciting elderly people to come live in it. And that's about all I'm going to say. So, so I guess then that this will be something that'll have to be on the agenda for next month then.
Yeah, I think it should be on the DRC agenda until we know for sure whether it's a problem.
Okay. Okay. That's probably a good suggestion. Okay. Agenda.
Bill, wait, hold on. Bill, does that owner or her attorney have any obligation to respond to your letter?
No, they have no legal obligation. We did point out in the letter that on the home on Dagama Court, that they did write a detailed letter stating their legal position and the request, and that we haven't received one for this. So I don't have any legal way of forcing them to respond. But if they don't respond, then we'll have to obtain information, how best we can obtain information.
Well, the reason that I'm asking is because I'm not sure who started this rumor, but I have seen on social media, there seems to be some comments about the MUD enforcing only related family people can live in a house. They're defining single family residence. And you put together an ad hoc committee, Catherine, and I want to hear what the definition of that is, because social media out there is vilifying this woman for trying to live in her home. And until we know otherwise, I think it is extremely unprofessional for us to be spreading rumors about what her intent is with this house. If you have gone to a website where you've seen with your own eyes that this is really going on, that would be one thing. But then even that, I don't think should be presented in a public meeting, because what I saw on this social media site is this woman is afraid for her life. People have said some really nasty things about this woman. And I know that could not have been your intent when you blurted out that she was doing the same thing to the Beach Nut house.
So I have no idea about what's being said on social media since I'm not on it.
Well,
So.
And Linda, the ad hoc committee is still working on the single family residential issues and definitions. Again, it's a matter of scheduling and time. You know, we had a detailed meeting and we're still working on it, but we're not ready to publish anything yet.
Okay, that's fine. Can I ask what authority, if any, the MUD has for what this woman might or might not do to the inside of her property? If she were to remodel the inside of the home, the MUD's not involved in that, are they? Any remodeling inside of a home?
I'm not aware of anything.
And that doesn't involve the ACC either, right? If it's inside remodeling, no change to the exterior.
Well, I'm not going to comment on the ACC because I don't represent the ACC directly. But as far as the MUD involvement, I don't believe the MUD would get involved in any interior changes unless it had some kind of direct impact on the use that would be prohibited. In other words, it might be evidence of a prohibited use.
Could you give me an example?
Yeah, if you remodeled the entire house so that it was no longer a residence, it was actually like a warehouse. You go in and it's a total warehouse, or it's a store, then we might be concerned about that. I don't know that we could regulate the actual modification, but we might be concerned about the details as it relates to the use.
I see. Okay, thank you. That helps.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Agenda item 5, notice to customers regarding lifting of moratorium and pandemic protocols regarding late fees and termination of water service effective June 13th. So I saw an example of what they were going to put on the verbiage that they were going to put on the next invoice. And I thought it looked fine. I'm trying to think what exactly were we hoping to discuss in this agenda item? Was this talking about changes that were being made to the website? What?
Well, I think we put it on this agenda because it was the next meeting, and we're getting close to the June 13 date where we're going to lift the moratorium. So perhaps today and maybe Wednesday, I think you were going to discuss the accounts in arrears and perhaps how that we're going to deal with those accounts once the moratorium's lifted.
Right, and I know that I think we've all received the report of the accounts in arrears, and I think if I remember correction when we talked about this last month, our intention was that everybody who was in arrears, they needed to have a payment plan in place or be brought up to current by June 13th. And we have a number of people who have really high high balances, and I think we were willing to discuss having payment plans that were more than 6 months, because 6 months usually is what was the term that we usually deal with. Since we're here talking about, does anybody else have any want to weigh in terms of from a process that, you know, you need to be on a payment plan if you're behind in order not to have your water turned off by June 13th?
McKinsey was supposed to have something for us to look at by May 13th, actually was the deadline in the motion, that would be going out to that list of very old balances,
Right.
the list that we got sent, okay, to those
Right.
people that was going to tell them what was coming, what they needed to do, if they had a medical or some kind of health exception or reason that we could not turn off their water, they needed to identify that. Do you remember that discussion at the meeting last month?
Yeah.
She was asked to provide the packet of information for those 52 accounts to receive about what was going to happen. They were going to get a little special attention because they're so far in arrears.
Right. And
they needed to understand what was going to happen and what they needed to do. And we were going to put letters on their doors with their red tag notice, you know, that kind of
right, right. So, okay, well, obviously we don't have that in front of us, so we can't discuss it. But what I would like to do is just take a few minutes for us to all be on the same the same plate in terms of what our intent was, and in terms of our intent is for those people who are behind, who they need to either have been brought up to current, or they needed to have made arrangements for a payment plan. Because if you looked at the report, we have more people than I would have expected who haven't made a payment since like last September. And that is a long time to go without paying your water, contributing and paying your fire fees and your trash service, because that's really what we're talking about here.
Don't we need to understand what's going on in those situations? Because there really wasn't that many of them where there's been zero payment at all.
No, and compared to the whole, I agree. But I was surprised at the number where the last payment was, August of 2020 or November of 2020. And, considering it's the end of May, that's a long time ago not to have paid a bill. And that's really what I'm more concerned about, is making sure that we bring everybody up to arrears. We have a plan in place, because everybody's got to pay the freight. When we dial 911 because there's a fire, we expect it to come. And that's because we all paid our fire fees. We all paid our fees. So, and we shouldn't expect our neighbors to be subsidizing our water usage by not paying our water bill. Okay, so that's all I have to say on that one.
I thought the motion that we did at last month's meeting actually outlined the plan clearly, including materials that were supposed to be delivered to the entire board on May 13th that have not arrived. And then on June 13th, the process was going to start, and we discussed what that process would be.
Well, I reviewed remember we talked about the
that's the announcement, notice, the rates going up.
Yeah.
That's different. Completely.
No, I'm talking about we were going to put a blurb on the bill that went out. Yeah. And she had to research how many characters, how many lines, etc. And so I saw that, and I'm assuming that's that's been taken care of.
Yeah, but that doesn't address that list of 52 or so accounts that you're referring to.
Right.
They need a letter with more detail, what they need to do if they have a medical emergency in the house that prevents us from turning off their water. We need to at least give them an opportunity to say so. And then the process that we outline, red tags, letters, you know, what you do before you turn off somebody's water.
Well, it's good. We'll discuss it more in detail on Wednesday.
Okay.
I also thought that we have someone that's making phone calls.
Yes, that was another thing that was going on is they had somebody from
Houston.
Yeah, that was, reaching
We
out.
approved that.
Right.
And let me add that that's been successful. I just got a message from somebody who said they got a phone call. They set up a payment plan. There you go.
Yay,
That's one.
Good. Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah, that's one. Okay, so agenda item 6, minutes from DRC meetings.
What happened to all the minutes?
I'll be honest, I haven't reviewed them all. I got them. I do remember getting an email from Bill at the end of the day Friday, and it's like, oh, you're like number 15 on my list here, dear, right now.
Yeah, if I could interject, Catherine, on the minutes, maybe a little more explanation. We had some draft minutes from, I think, the first 2 months of the year that were in the format, the prior format that the board had directed, which was only to include motions and seconds and votes. As I would call them more minimal minutes. And then in response to comments that we needed more detail, there was a rough draft of a set of minutes, which in my opinion, and I think the DRC agreed, it was more like a transcript. It was so detailed, it was too far the other direction. And so I've asked the DRC to review all those and determine the level of detail and modify those minutes. So those 3 are outstanding and ending with them.
Right. And I agree. I apologize. I sent questions back to Jimmy and Diana after I read some of them this weekend. Okay, so we don't have anything. So the next one is agenda item 7, deed restriction enforcement actions pending with the attorney, et cetera, et cetera.
So the short answer here is on the pending actions, there's really nothing new to report.
Okay.
We have the London Lane case, which is problematic as far as settlement. And right now we don't have a path to settle that case, but there's no current violations being committed. And that person has an attorney. Then we have the Tierra Blanca case is actually concluded, and we're in the execution stage where we're executing writs to collect our judgment, enforce the judgment. So I don't know if there's any board action that could be taken on either of those two matters. The third one, which we're just in the preliminary stage, we already discussed, is the investigation or preliminary investigation of Beach Nut Trace, a potential violation.
Okay.
I'm not formally working on any other matter. We have no other lawsuits pending. That doesn't mean we weren't consulted along the way on some of these other violations. Like Diana mentioned, some of them have been sent to us for advice, but we're not actively pursuing any other violation on the legal end. Now,
okay.
if it wants me to, then they need to authorize additional work on specific cases.
Right. Off the top of my head, I'm not hearing anything that that we need to authorize you to deal with right now.
I do have a question though. I am confused about one thing. The Tierra Blanco case that's concluded, they're still on the report.
Oh yeah.
What does that mean?
It means it
Not concluded.
No, correct me if I'm misstating this, Bill, is the violation hasn't necessarily been concluded. We took them to court. They didn't show up. We got a summary judgment, and we still haven't gotten to yes yet. You know, all we wanted was the problem resolved, and we haven't gotten to yes. They've just ignored us all the way through.
So what happens?
Yeah, that's what I keep asking myself.
Ask Bill.
Yeah, so no, let me answer it. It's an important question. So we got a default judgment is actually what we got because they never responded. This owner has never responded to my office or to Sage or anyone as far as I know. This owner also has paid every fine assessed to them. So they pay the fines presumably because it's cheaper than getting a warehouse or a business location. That's what we assume. We don't know that for sure. So we have an executed judgment where they're liable to pay the attorney fees and costs incurred by the district, which were about $3,000 some dollars. And we're going to proceed with a writ of execution to attempt to collect that amount. Also, the judgment has injunctive relief compelling them to stop the violations. And we're going to pursue that with a writ of execution. And if they continue, we could seek contempt of court charges against them. However, as the violations continue, they're still in the system and they will be fined. Presumably, they'll pay the fines for the violations that exist. Now, they have modified their behavior slightly, but it might only be seasonal as they're in a business that is busier in the summertime with the turf type materials that they're storing there. But yeah, we haven't stopped all the violations with the lawsuit, but the enforcement continues under the fine system. If need be, you know, if we have to sue for new violations, we could do that in the future. But right now, we're going to pursue the writs that I recommended. So the lawsuit itself is over, but the execution of the judgment's not over yet.
So I guess my question is their status on the report this month, is that old business or new business against this property?
I would assume it's new business. Sage would have to confirm that.
I mean, it's the repeat. I mean, it's the same violations that they were citing for before.
Right. So those are, I don't know if every one of the violations cited were part of the lawsuit or not. I'd have to check.
Okay.
But you know, they're being cited for violations that are either new or continuing. Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, agenda item 8, future board meetings. Do we have items that we want to put on future DRC meetings? So it sounds like we're gonna, Bill is suggesting that we keep the Beech Nut Trace property on the agenda. We also have time to add something to next, the meeting a week from Wednesday, our second Wednesday meeting. Do we have anything that somebody wants to put on the agenda right now? Either one of those agendas?
I do for the next week, Wednesday.
Yeah, a week from Wednesday, our second Wednesday.
Second Wednesday, yeah. I have a list.
Okay.
Can you send it to me, Linda?
I can.
Yeah,
Okay.
it'll be more efficient. Anyone that has, again, I guess that'll be May 26th. The May 26th meeting is designed primarily for committee matters, but if you have agenda items you want to put on there, because obviously our agenda for Wednesday is already posted and it's intended to be a general manager, engineer type meeting, email them to me as soon as you think of them. And so we can get them on the draft so we don't miss something. And then we can organize them and get them approved through Catherine. So the more time I have to do that, the better. Usually we talk about this on the Wednesday meeting, like coming up in 2 days. And then we set a deadline and they kind of all rush in. So if you think of something, like think of something tonight or tomorrow, just send me your list and I'll try to get them on the agenda for next Wednesday.
Okay, so agenda item 9, I need somebody to adjourn the meeting.
I move so.
Okay, I'll second it. Everybody say aye. Aye. I will see you all on Wednesday.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.